Hey guys, I figured I'd take you along with me. I am going to do some more work on the bike. One thing I am going to do is I'm going to separate the alarm from the controller. How this works is when you turn the bike off, it's actually still on, and the alarm and the controller are feeding off the battery. If the alarm goes off, it sends a signal to the controller to give it 100% ABS, which locks up the back wheel, and you can't walk the bike, obviously. It's a nice setup, but there's only one small problem. Most motorcycle C-pans are either steel or aluminum. They like to use the cheap, either plastic or some kind of composite. They're pretty easy to pry up, and then once you get under the seat, where pretty much all the breakers are, you flip that one breaker. That's the main breaker for the whole bike. That will disable the alarm, and it will disable there's no power. There's not going to be any locking wheels. So that's actually a bad design, really bad design. Anybody who rips these bikes off knows that you just have to get the seat off to either get the battery out or get the breaker flipped over. So what I like to do is I like to separate the alarm from the controller. Unfortunately, you lose the wheel lockup, but one thing you do gain is there's no way for them to physically turn the alarm off. They're going to try and take the breaker, and the breaker is basically not going to do anything because the alarm's wired directly into the battery pack, deep into the bike, and there's just a blade fuse to protect it from shorting. So that's the setup I like to use. So what I'm doing now is you can see the wiring harness off this alarm here. You got this one. This is the one that sends the signal to the that communicates with the controller, and then this one here, it's got a red and a black. Now you have to test the leads off the controller before you completely take it out. Like that could be 12 volts off the controller. It could be 5. It could be the full pack voltage. You don't know. And when I tested it here, I got 76.5. So that means the full pack voltage is going through that thin little wire. So that means it should be able to just wire that up directly to the battery with a blade fuse, and this will always be on, which is also less strain on the battery when it sits parked. The only thing that would be off now is the controller, and what I do is I'm going to flip the breaker over instead of taking the seat off every time I want to disconnect it, because what you do is you charge the battery, you flip the breaker, and there's no drain on the battery, okay? Just the alarm. And what I like to do is put the switch down here where you can actually get at it. That way I don't have to take the seat off, and it's just wear and tear on the seat. So we'll drill a little square hole there, and we'll flip it over and set it up that way. But that's what I've found so far. That is the 76.5 volt output on the controller to power the alarm, and that one there is just for communication between the pick. So what I gotta do is I gotta find out where the rest of these go. I'm guessing this is probably throttle. It could be, might not be. That one's definitely for the alarm. You gotta love the hull setup on this bike. They went and siliconed or put epoxy or whatever in the connector to save it from getting water in it and going bad. But then the other one that's on the controller, they didn't bother even putting anything on that. So that would have been a problem down the road. And they just put this boot on. It wasn't 100%. It was open on the end. So the water can't get in that. I'm going to lose that anyway when I put the new controller on it. But yeah, so I separate the alarm and then I bury it. Where they had the alarm, they had it mounted right there. So like you could reach in and monkey with it. I'm going to put it right there where the controller was. Same hole, same type of hole. So I shouldn't have to drill another hole in the frame. And that's buried right in the bike. You'd have to take the whole side of the fairing off to get at it. So that works. Still haven't figured out why there's 2 voltage regulators. We're still working on that. But when we finish doing what I'm doing here, and we'll make a bracket to set our new controller up. And obviously we're going to have to remove some shunts from it, but we'll do that later. Okay, I got the controller open, guys. So what we got here is we got 6 shunts, and if I give you a close-up of it, the 3 shunts in the center are buttered up. What we mean by that is there's a solder joining all 3 of them. That's how you get your maximum 150 amp draw. It's configured for 80. So what we're going to do is we're going to debutter all 3 center shunts, and then I'm going to lift the 2 end ones, just one end, just so they're not making contact, or I'll just remove it entirely. But that'll leave 3 shunts in the middle, and that should drop it down considerably, and still have the power I need to get around. Okay, there you go. I lifted the 2 end ones and I debuttered the center, and that's all we should have to do. Let's just put it back together and install it on the bike. Well, that's about it for the wiring. The alarm is separate now. It's been moved from there to there, buried more into the bike. It's fused. It's off the common ground, but then the positive goes right to the battery with the fuse. I got to make another bracket for the controller, but it's mounted there pretty good now as it is. Everything works. The e-brake works. Timing, throttle, speedo. I'll have to test a few other things. But when you turn the bike off, the alarm is constantly on, which is not a bad thing, which I'll show you. Cover it with a blanket because I don't feel like listening to it. But the ignition is not in the bike right now, and there you go. I can show you that the ignition works. The only thing I couldn't get going was the switch for the kickstand, but I honestly don't care for it, so there you go. It's all ready to go. Throttle works, but like I said, there's no switch on the kickstand, so it'll take off if you hit the throttle. But the e-brake still works, so it kills that doing that. So she's ready to go. You can throw it back together. Like I said, make that bracket. I got that bolt. Put the bolts back in the seat here because I took the back rack off. But we're pretty much ready for a test run. Later, guys. Well, she is finished. The alarm is set up. The controller is set up. And if we turn this on, and connect to our controller. I put it at default settings right now, but as you can see, we're up and running. Controller settings. Right now everything is on easy mode. And everything is working. Turn signals, lights. The only thing it doesn't work now is this, but it's on the highest setting. That's about it. Oh, and the kickstand, but I honestly don't care about that. What was the other thing? Yeah, that's about it. Finished. The alarm's set up. It's on 24 hours a day. There you go. All the fairings are back on. She's all nice and cleaned up. The controller is solid, but I'm going to put another bracket here anyway. And I could ride it like that as it is. And there was already a notch in the fairing for the wiring harness, so you can tell it was designed for that. So, sweet. she's ready to go. Later, guys.